I was back on a forest path. Not taking even 5 steps out, I stumbled. A sudden vertigo struck me. I must have had a long day, I reasoned as I held a hand to my forehead while trying to steady myself. My brain spun like a sloshed up pit of mud.
I just imagine her sticking the leg to her ground and using it as support while she just goes, that
would be good. That's a good idea.
Yeah. If she has it, might as well use it.
Yeah. I must have forgotten something very important.
I lost a lot of blood.
Yes. I leaned back against a tree to take a break, looking upward, eyelids flickering. I wondered if the sky had always looked so far away. The sun was beginning to set, orange hues beginning to enter the picture. My free hand, propped against the bark, slid downward unconsciously.
Yep.
Oh, and now I'm dead.
Yep.
I closed my eyes for a moment. Darkness.
Oh, we're not dead.
Oh. I slowly opened my bleary eyes to the sky. It was a starry night sky. A terrible headache battered my skull. I felt as if I had forgotten something very important. So disoriented I had no idea where I was. I patted around me and noticed that I still had the limbs I just retrieved with me. My head hurt. Hearing footsteps, I pushed myself up to a sitting position and saw her.
Well, we just saw her, so I'm gonna say hi to her.
Looking around, I found that I was in the Hatter's place. Ah! I started to talk only for my throat to feel like sandpaper. Each time I blinked, my eyelids grew heavy again. A chill ran through my whole body. Uncomfortable, that was all I could say I felt. Although I had experienced quite a bit since coming to Wonderland, I had not thought that I would catch a cold.
Don't speak, Alice, you're burning up. So no tea for you today.
It must have still been tea time, for it was always tea time. However, today the Hatter decided to put the tea aside, even at tea time, for the sick me. She brought a teacup of water to my lips, tilting it for me to drink. I drank and choked. Coughing and sputtering, I felt her wipe away the water that had spilled.
If you drink too quickly, you'll drown.
She handed me the cup directly, fingers just barely avoiding mine, but also grasping the cup firmly till she knew I wouldn't drop it.
Drink water slowly, Alice. I've got to get something off of the stove.
Another hammer, or... Seeing that I had the cup in hand, she hopped off in the direction of the stove. I thought back to when we first met. At that time, the thing on the stove had been a hammer, so I hoped that she would bring back something more pleasant.
Like a crowbar.
Ah, yes, a crowbar would be better than a hammer.
I just like the aesthetic.
I sipped from the water cup and waited, setting it aside once I finished. She returned with a bowl of porridge in hand.
Boo.
Why porridge? Sitting down.
Sick.
Oh, but could have been oatmeal instead.
Yeah.
Sitting down next to me, she scooped up a spoonful of porridge and blew it lightly to cool it down. As the porridge temperature settled, she moved the spoon toward my mouth. I instinctively opened my mouth like a baby bird. Like the baby bird I killed. I can eat myself.
It's quite the talent.
I can eat myself.
I bet I get the golden buzzer on America's Got Talent. Except for British.
Well, we can only get the buzzer if we go there without the arm. We gotta be disabled or have a sad backstory. Then we'll win.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's use the queen as a body double.
Yes.
I would rather you not cannibalize yourself.
She fed me porridge, spoonful by spoonful. Once the porridge was finished, she put the bowl away and gave me another cup of water. While letting me sip the water, she wiped away the sweat on my forehead. You're good at taking care of people.
Really?
I never quite had. My words drifted off into silence as I thought back to what little I had to say about taking care of others and being taken care of.
Oh, you were an unwanted child, weren't you?
Well, so look at you. You're not much better.
No. But I have Dormouse in the hair.
Yes, we are here too. Hatter, the limb.
I'll put it away for you.
You know me so well, Hatter, and I could barely keep my eyes open.
Rest well.
The Hatter placed a cool, trembling hand on my forehead. Then into the realm of hypnose I fell. What, the Pokemon? No.
I'm pretty sure it's referencing, I think, it's either a Greek or Egyptian god. I know there is a god named Hypnos.
I prefer to think of the Pokemon. It's just funnier that way.
Yeah. It is funnier to imagine Danny DeVito, but yeah.
Anyways.
You can't tell me Drowsy doesn't look like him in some ways.
After a few days of good rest under the Hatter's care, I recovered to full health. Man, my tutors are probably really wondering where I went. You skipped weeks of lessons, Alice. You're grounded.
I bet the tutors were just happy to have the day off because it sounds like they didn't like her very much.
Maybe. After a few days of good rest under the Hatter's care, I recovered to full health. I hadn't been so sick in years. Thank you, Hatter.
What for? Don't linger too long at this crowded place. Off you go. Don't you have some body parts left to find, Alice?
Haha, so I do. Seeing me once more healthy, she shooed me away. Get out of here, Alice. Go away.
Get.
I've seen you too long. I was back on the forest path. The Red Queen was nearly assembled, missing only her head and a fourth limb. Onward I continued with my search so that she could send me home. I was on the forest path. I thought back to the Cheshire Cat's taunting Yes, taunting. Thinking of her taunting flick, I had no idea where she could be, for she always appeared and disappeared as she pleased. Oh, back to Hatter. I returned to the endless tea party. I had a quick chat with the Hatter to find out. Are you acquainted with the Cheshire Cat? The Hatter's eyes narrowed.
Cheshire.
The Hatter moved Dormouse as if she was upset.
She is a mouse.
Oh, yeah. Please. She's so scary. The Hatter moved the March Hare as if he was exasperated.
Will you stay up in the trees?
The Hatter smiled as she spoke.
She's usually around the northern end of the forest. The cat always says she has business, so she can't stay for tea. Even though I never invited her.
The Hatter grinned.
Yes, we're acquaintances, but definitely not friends. If you're looking for that cat, don't bring her back here. We're low on suits as it is.
And then she sneered.
Next thing you know, you'll have to be chopped up to fit in a teapot. Ta-ta.
The trio of one gave me a jaunty wave. Taking the Hatter's words, I started off to explore the forest north. I walked down many twists and turns, stumbling across uneven ground. The path was rougher here and the foliage thicker. I found not another living being in sight, no cats nor others. After a while I reached a place with two signs pointing opposite directions. One read cliff, and the other not a cliff. I let out a chuckle that they were straightforward enough signs, but I couldn't see where they led past the bushes blocking beyond their arrows. Dang. The ring of a small bell entered my ears, followed by the clatter of metal shackles. Cheshire Cat. I received no response. Accompanying me here was only the breeze that would sometimes hit the leaves of the trees around me. I heard a soft rustling noise, but when I looked toward the sound, I saw nothing. I tilted my head to look further upward and... The world shifted. Battle impact. The air was pushed out my lungs. A black and orange blur crashed down on me with great momentum from the sky, slamming me to the ground. If my head had hit a different way, my skull would have been a cracked egg on the ground. I moved just in time to harshly bang my shoulder instead.
I just got that arm back, man.
Yeah, excuse you.
I thought I'd get it done in one shot.
The blur of the Cheshire Cat filled my spinning field of view. She wrapped both hands around my neck, digging in with her sharp nails. Her left arm flickered in and out of existence as if it wasn't really there, creating an unbalanced pressure on my throat. Her grip tightened, drawing blood. I couldn't breathe. She squeezed even tighter. I tried to pry her fingers off with my own. My twitching hand clawed at her constricting grip and even scratched my own neck. More than the pain of the flesh wounds, I was going lightheaded from the lack of air. I just barely forced her off my neck. I wheezed, coughing to catch a breath. She grabbed my collar, gripped onto the lift flickering in and out, and slammed me back to the ground after lifting me up a little. What? I couldn't even ask why she was doing this as vertigo overwhelmed me. Kicking and flailing randomly, I managed to push her off for a moment. I had to reorientate myself, get to my feet, just roll away from her somehow. Which way?
You know where I'm going, don't you?
Not a cliff?
I'm jumping off the cliff.
You might want to choose not a cliff.
Darn. Okay.
Yeah, I looked up the guy because I knew one of them wasn't actually a cliff and one of them wasn't. So I looked up which one was the dead end. As I made good distance from the cat, I felt the ground disappear underneath me. Whoosh! It was all air below me. In a desperate flail, I grabbed onto a rock on the cliffside with one hand. I should have expected this from Wonderland. My injured shoulder throbbed. As I tried to get used to that arm's hand for a second point on the cliff, I found that I couldn't pull my weight with that side. My uninjured side barely clung on. The rock dug into my flesh and my fingers creaked. A trickle of blood started down my palm. The rock as well shuddered as a hairline fracture showed itself. I tried to find a foothold with my legs, but even the slightest swing could throw me downward to my demise. With the angle of the cliff, I had no way to try. I winced.
Still here?
The Cheshire Cat looked down on me. Pacing back and forth, she pretended to contemplate what to do next while her shoulders shook with mirth.
Just do it.
Just do it. I don't have a reason not to die right now. I squeezed my eyes shut to try and block out my dizziness. Why are you doing this? This very sudden.
I had a bit of a revelation that Wonderland was mad. That's all. You and I, we're all mad. We both seem to have forgotten something very important. Even now, I can't seem to remember what it is. It's just a bout of madness, Alice.
I see. Sweat, probably more blood than sweat, made my grip on the rock slippery. Amusement at seeing me struggle showed on the cat's face as her grin grew and her tail of black flame roared. I don't suppose you to help me up.
Depends on what you mean.
She extended her right arm and grabbed my wrist. With a firm pull, she tore my hand off the rock and held me up by the wrist. I saw the daytime sky. I dangled in midair, feeling her lift me upward, and let go. Air whooshed past my ears.
We're falling, falling, falling again.
Falling, falling, falling.
Long live the Queen.
I was falling.
Crack.
Crack. Just like that. Death in 3.
Alice is dying out of order.
Yeah. 96.
So you hadn't seen that.
Yeah, apparently. Maybe I didn't go through the dead ends.
Maybe. Maybe you got a couple and we're just like, nah.
Yeah. I'm here for the good ends. Oh,
Time to go to the cliff.
I tumbled through the bushes in the direction labeled as a cliff. The signs around here had nonsense written on them many times more than not. As I expected, my chosen direction had no cliff in sight. Hello. I shakily got to my feet and watched the cat do so as well. She immediately lunged at me again. This time I was more prepared. I kneed her in the stomach as she approached, grabbing her right shoulder and twisting while hooking my foot on hers. Forcing her arm down, I heard a slight cracking noise and made her fall to the ground with a thump. Just in case, I kicked her away a bit. Kick her while she's down. Her body was light like a cat. I'm waiting for an explanation. She started to fade away, but I stepped on her before she could get away. After a quick struggle, she relented and got up to her feet without any further fading. The cat snarled, dusting off her body. The Cheshire Cat frowned.
I hadn't realized who you were before.
My cloak may have a hood, but you've seen my face many times already, Cheshire Cat. She scowled.
Wonderland's twisted up in time.
She jeered.
The sort of logic doesn't work here. It's mad. All mad. You might be Alice, but who is Alice? Now that's the question we have to ask.
Her lips curled into a mocking smile.
To start with, you don't know anything. Do you even know who you are, Alice?
I'm Alice, that is all. That was my sole truth. She returned to a frown deep in thought.
My mind games aren't working. She's too stupid. But who in the world is Alice? An outsider? A temporary visitor? I've just about figured out the most important part.
If you figured it out, I don't suppose you'd tell me.
You are.
She grimaced in pain. She pressed her hand against her head. Then she took on a jeer.
Somehow you're much too similar to the Mad Queen. All about that Mad Queen. You've been looking for her, but let me tell you this. She's been dead for a while now. Although I think you should already know.
Well, I did pick up all her body parts, so I did know she was dead. She scowled.
Have you seen her arm?
Have you seen her other arm? I'm looking for it.
I can't put it into words for some reason. Maybe it's just the way you look at the world. But you're definitely the same type of person.
In which way?
Every which way.
Oh, every which way. Are you just trusting some gut feeling, some delusion that I might be the same as someone whom I've never met? Or, as you say, someone who is long dead? She stared at me with determination.
This world can't afford another Red Queen. Not even the chance of one.
She vanished, taking the chance in our conversation. Criminals needed to be locked up. I looked all around, hearing the faintest sound of her shackles telling me that she was nearby, but I could not see her actual presence.
So why don't you do me a favor, Alice? Just go ahead and die.
I have 4 times already, in fact.
Yes, thank you very much. Her voice danced through the air formlessly. You have no qualification to enact your form of justice, Cat.
That really is just like her to say.
She appeared behind me and attacked again. We fell to the ground to tussle once more. She clawed me a few times, but I gradually gained the advantage. The cat favored her right arm. Rather, her left arm acted transient, coming in and out of existence, forcing her to avoid relying on it. Her handicap forced her to fall to more than my now numb shoulder did me. She fought like an animal. To be fair, she was an animal, biting, clawing, and all the likes. She came at me with the intent to kill. We continued till we were both bloodied and bruised. I punched her straight in the face, causing her to bite her tongue and choke up a mouthful of red. Her head bounced to the ground, throwing her next moves into disarray. I hit the cat again, and again. Doing this with my bare hands wasn't exhilarating as much as it was just a matter of fact. I decided that I preferred this nuisance out of my life. Just like that bird. I noticed that her right arm was stitched on. Time to pull off your arm. The arm felt familiar, as if it didn't belong to the Cheshire Cat. Alice, that cat was also a thief!
Oh, it's the Red Queen's arm.
It's the Red Queen's arm! I'm gonna tear it off.
Exactly.
I want that arm.
Mine.
I grabbed hold of the Cheshire Cat's right arm and pulled. The cat screamed. The arm creaked. Be quiet for a bit, won't you? As I pulled, I heard a myriad of tearing and ripping noises, sounds that human flesh should not make. She screamed herself hoarse, shaking under me. Feeling her erratic gasps, I figured that she could barely breathe. Her eyes dilated, crying. From the gurgling I heard from her throat, I guessed that she must have bitten fully through her tongue. I dug my fingers into the arm even more harshly to wrench it off. Slowly but steadily, I removed the arm from the cat through brute force. With a final squelch, the arm popped off from where it had been attached. The cat also stopped making noise around that time. This arm's mine now. Blood splattered all over me, dirtying my clothes and the limbs I sought to retrieve. Really a little annoying. Red dripped all over the grass around us. I sat on her prone body for a moment to rest. Looking at my handiwork, I wondered if perhaps I'd gone a little far. However, it was better to get trouble out of the way. I wobbled to my feet.
Officer, this case of torture was self-defense. She came at me first.
Yeah, officer, the only reason I tore off her arm is because I need to attach it to a dead body. And also, I killed her because she hit me first.
Exactly.
I kicked the body, asserting that she was unconscious. Holding the arm in one hand, I dragged the cat along the ground. I left 2 trails of red behind me, one from the cat and one from the recently detached limb. In the direction labeled "not a cliff" was a cliff. What a convenient garbage disposal spot.
I love how cold this protagonist is. I love Alice.
Yeah, she's great. I held the cat's body as close to the cliff's edge as I could. Placing the arm on the ground to free up my hands, I lifted her and flung her off the cliff. An issue was disposed of. Goodbye, Cheshire Cat.
The rabbit would be jumping for joy if she saw this.
I bet White Rabbit's real pleased about this now. Now there was no more Cheshire Cat. I picked up the severed right arm. The limb appeared different now that it was detached from the cat. It more resembled its fellow limbs, sans a regal torn sleeve. The broken shackle about its wrist fell off without me having to do a thing. Alice, did you recognize this arm? Yes, I answered. This was the Red Queen's arm. A jolt of pain burst through my head. I did not know why I knew, and amidst my agony, I did not have the heart to care. I stumbled, clutching my head. The world warped and blurred around me. I felt dizzy looking at the distorted landscape, or perhaps my dizziness itself distorted the landscape into an undulating thing that made me want to vomit. As my adrenaline drained, the results of the fight began to show themselves. My whole body felt sore. The raging headache pounding at my skull would not subside. Black and red began to fill my vision. Oh. The ground shifted beneath my feet. Maybe. Falling. Alice was falling. Again. My world turned to darkness, and all I heard was laughter. Thump. Oh, hey. At some point I made my way back to the Hatter's place. Hello, Hatter. I handed over the limb I had just obtained. At least from what I could tell from the passage of time, it should have only been recently that I'd taken the limb from its past owner. I didn't know. The Hatter took the limb and threw it into the dog cage with all the others. She grinned.
With this, you've gathered all of Her Majesty's limbs.
Oh, so I have.
You look terrible right now, Alice.
Her eyes narrowed.
Like us.
Like us. I'm tired. The Hatter smiled.
Take a nap. Tea time isn't going anywhere. Not unless Tom grows back its severed head and walks away, don't you think? We can always talk a little later.
Thank you. I slumped back into my armchair, sinking into the oddly scented cushions. She sneered.
Good night, Alice. This may be the last.
Then she looked a little lonely.
I almost feel a little sorry. But Dormouse, march. I won't stop.
I didn't hear what the Hatter said afterward, but the raging white noise of my headache. My vision blurred, eyes becoming watery, eyelids heavy, knees weak, arms are heavy. Knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on my sweater already. Mom, spaghetti. Eyelids heavy, I fell asleep. Then I was dreaming. Falling, I keep falling, man. Falling into the dream. Tick tock, tick tock. Oh no, not that website, no. Anything but that.
It hasn't been banned in Wonderland yet.
No! I dreamt of a throne. A dark and terrible throne, so horribly cold. It was such a lonely throne, but the eye on the throne was arrogant and happy to be alone. No, I thought even she had someone she loved. A beautiful person. Yes, that person she loved was a beautiful person, so fragile and beautiful that she wanted to slowly tear off that person's wings. But her love was wrong. If she wasn't happy, then she would lose everything. Alice, Alice, you were exactly this person. No, I wasn't. Was I? As I opened my mouth to speak, blood began to leak through my lips. The only sound that came out was an empty gurgle. Were you happy? No. I could not talk. I could not taste. Even though red dripped down my chin, I felt as if my tongue had been snipped out. Blood choked me. Gasping at nothing but liquid, I grasped at my throat. Alice. I was drowning in this dream. You were never happy. Never. When I awoke, I forgot all that I had dreamt of. Oh, that was a weird dream. Anyways, I opened my eyes to an empty feeling in my mind. Disoriented, I nearly rolled off of my armchair and wished I had gone to sleep. I sat up and stifled a yawn, rubbing the bridge of my nose. I blinked. I blinked again, chasing away a haze. I felt as if I had forgotten something very important. In the meanwhile, the Hatter brought up a decorated cake. Ooh, cake! Much more elaborate than the usual snacks of her eternal tea time. It was a cake with cream and fruits. Ooh, yummy. Two-layered, even, with flowers and pictures carved up with the food ingredients. I could only call it a pretty cake. Pretty cake. She grinned cheekily, winking.
Just in time for tea, Alice.
As I got up from my armchair, the Hatter lightly pushed me back down. My behind landed on the cushion with a soft bounce. It seemed I could not but sit. She stared at me before sticking a handful of candles into the cake, lighting them with a match. Is it my birthday?
I think she's gonna call it the Queen's birthday because we're getting her back together again.
Oh, it's her rebirthday.
Yeah, it's her rebirthday.
The Hatter made a devilish wide grin. Flick, the flame glowed on the head of the match just for a few seconds. After settling the candles, she began clapping her hands to an unsteady rhythm. Well, that was unsteady. Oh, it's my unbirthday.
Happy unbirthday to you.
Happy unbirthday to you.
Happy unbirthday, dear Alice.
A terribly offbeat, off-balance song. She sang, and her voice warped as she said my name today. A certain darkness flickered in her mismatched eyes. She sneered.
Happy unbirthday to you.
I didn't understand. I couldn't understand. I simply watched as she finished the song with a small clap and pushed the cake a bit closer to me. What's this for, Hatter? Certainly today was not my birthday. She said unbirthday.
Didn't I tell you? Don't you remember? You get a special prize for bringing me all 4 limbs, Alice. Since it's not your birthday, it must be your unbirthday.
All 364 days of the years. Picking up a knife, she cut out a slice of cake and slid it over to me. I caught it in a hurry, and soon enough she poured me a cup of tea that too came rushing over. I noticed a hammer on the table right next to the cake knife.
It's hammer time.
It's hammer time, baby. She gestured, urging me to have a taste. The calming scent of tea wafted to my nose and mixed with sweet, milky cream. The celebratory cake slice looked so charming I almost felt ashamed to eat. I picked up the cup of tea and took a sip. This is my favorite. Black tea. After enjoying some tea, I started on the cake. As I ate, the Hatter placed a box before me. She was still sneering.
Open your presents, Alice.
Chop it open.
Smash it open. Any way you'd like to.
I surveyed the box, an odd and plain box just big enough to store an animal. From the outside, I could not tell what might lay inside. I cracked open a small gap, afraid should a stir book be hidden inside. Shadows blocked my vision. I saw nothing, but I heard a low gurgling, drowning sound, a strange, strangled voice, one that sent a chill rolling up my neck. Throbbing headache hit me again. In one go, I flung off the lip.
Hey, we finally see what's in the box.
Yeah. Inside was a head, a bloodied head. Huh? A head, a woman's head, a girl's head, a head that should have been dead. A much too familiar face, a much too foreign face. I didn't quite understand what I was looking at, even as the world seemed to shift around me. Her matted hair was blonde. Her bloody skin was pale. Her unfocused eyes were not blue, rather they were red. Alice, you knew who that face belonged to. Alice. Whose head is this? I stumbled to my feet, back away, only to fall back onto the armchair from my loss of equilibrium. This wasn't right. Her face looked just like mine. Just almost. I clutched my neck and touched my face to make sure that I was still here. This was the Red Queen. This was Alice. This was a severed head, Alice. Whose head is this? I wanted to ask, but instead a strangled cry escaped my throat. I couldn't move my eyes away from the so-called prize that the Hatter had given to me. Blood pooled at the bottom of the box, sticky and dark. How terrible. I reached a trembling hand to touch it, but it wasn't my place to try to close her eyes or put her to peace. The head was still spinning, twisting with a squelch and squish. Its wet, ragged sounds of raspy breathing echoed in my skull. I jerked my hand back and covered my ears. I couldn't look away.
Now won't you bloody near find Her Majesty's head?
As if laughing at me, as if she didn't truly mean that, with an odd tilt of her voice as she spoke of the Red Queen, the Hatter confirmed the head's owner. She walked over to the Red Queen, flinging the dog cage open, and popped the limbs onto the torso one by one. As they reattached, they began to flail and grab at the Hatter. This time she was prepared and grabbed her hammer. Hatter! With a pair of loud bangs, she hammered nails through the corpse's hands onto the Red Queen's chair. Blood dripped to the ground. The hands twitched, the body writhed. A ghostly pain ran up my arms as my stomach churned. It felt dizzy.
What?
Hatter! I discovered that I had nothing to say. Even though I always had thoughts racing through my mind, I had nothing to say. Alice, that was why you were worthless. Ask something. Anything. I touched my face to see if my lips had curled up without me thinking to.
Didn't you want to leave this place? Now you found the Red Queen. If you had something you'd like to talk with her about, I'll let you take care of that before I proceed with my own business.
She pushed the Red Queen over, chair scraping on the ground with a hideous squeal, and stopping only when I sat face to face with the headless, shifting body. Taking the head of the box, the Hatter put it onto the body. The skin and meat deformed, contorting till the pieces of neck met exactly where they should. Then it all knitted together with something unnatural crawling under the skin. I shuddered at the hollow sound made from the corpse as her throat connected. The Red Queen looked at me with dead red eyes. I didn't know what she went through, but she looked terrible. Ugh. I realized that I hadn't even asked who killed her like this, nor had I ever stumbled upon an answer the same way I'd found all the limbs. This was the Red Queen. Alice, this was me. The requests I had been pondering on, the wishes to go back home, the want to ask for her help, they all flew out of my mind. Because this wasn't right. The face I was looking at, battered and bloodied as it appeared, was not right. I couldn't speak, but she did. Mouthing words yet making no sound besides the hollow whistle of a crushed throat, the Red Queen began to talk without saying a thing. Her tongue was missing, and we had to do something about that.
You know what I'm gonna do?
I grabbed the cake knife from the other side of the table. Ah, no. Without hesitation, I thrust the knife into my mouth, began to cut, ignoring how the metal choked my airway and blood pooled up, dripping out from between my lips. I sawed back and forth with a slightly serrated knife, much too dull, tearing through my tongue. I cut and ripped and sawed. Connected by one little string of flesh, the tongue, I ripped it off by force. I didn't want to swallow the piece of meat lingering in my mouth. Coughing and choking, I brought a hand up to my lips and blood spilled right past my fingers. The knife clattered to the ground. My head hurt more than my mouth, temples throbbing. Alice belonged to the Red Queen. I spit the bloody lump of my tongue into my hands and gave it to the Red Queen, with shaking hands that doubled and then tripled in my contorting vision. She seemed to swallow it. I heard a crunch from inside her mouth, a disgusting sound. Gosh, I should probably give her the same voice. Alice! Alice! She smiled and I mirrored with a shaky smile. What a time for madness! With her hand still nailed to the chair, she shifted, crossing her legs as if to make herself a tad more comfortable while she laughed silently at me. I heard the Hatter call out, but only the Red Queen's voice reached my ears. Red, red, red wouldn't stop flowing from my mouth, dribbling past my lips, pouring down my throat in a viscous, metallic flow. How have you enjoyed my domain?
Great, I died a lot.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Everything was spinning. I sputtered out a wordless response as I grew lightheaded, drowning in my own blood. Red was spilling all over my armchair. No, I certainly have to clean up all the vermin that I've gathered when I was gone, all the thoughts that my mind should never have had. She lifted her hands and tore out the nails lodged through her flesh, quickly, and the skin and muscle knitted together, leaving but a faint pinkish color on her skin. Picking up the nails, she threw them like darts toward the Hatter. Although I couldn't look toward the Hatter, I heard an ugly, piercing sound. For example, my little white bird. The Red Queen gave me a hand of applause. Alice, your job is done. Well done, myself from another world. This is the best that you have accomplished with your life.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. You have my commendation. I was going to say commendation. I was like, that can't be right.
Commendation.
Yeah, you have my commendation. I couldn't breathe. Each time I gasped and wheezed, only liquid flowed down my airway. Red, 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 painting my lungs red. I slumped over, trying to hold myself up, even as I continued to bleed so much red that I couldn't bleed any further. Breathe so much red that I couldn't breathe any further. This was it for Alice. Thump.
Dead end.
Dead end. 6.
Yay.
Yay.
I haven't gotten 4.
Yeah.